Y'all need to watch under y'all damn nuts.
Hi there, I'm Lisa-Skye. I'm joined by Leah and Nate, and today we're talking bisexuality and picking up. Grrr. Leah.
Gosh, that's a bit sudden.
How do you find picking up outside of OkCupid? Because that's pretty much what I do.
Yeah, I feel like online dating has really changed like the whole disclosure process, because you can just like say everything on the profile and then, you know, be annoyed when people haven't read it instead of like having to awkwardly, you know, strategize when to put things into conversations. But I try to, I guess, like sort of in talking about coming out as well, like I try and over disclose everything all the time, so that everyone already knows, you know, which is, I guess, yeah, part of like being a performer and doing spoken word and doing, you know, panels on TV and crap is that like it's just being like hyper visible.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's what I find when I'm doing dating that's not online. Oh, scary. I basically go, okay, here's the thing. Here are my 18 labels. I like labels for this reason. Are you on board or not? And that's how I do it. And it's maybe intense, but hey, I like intensity. What about you, Nate?
Well, I mean, I think I've tried the online dating stuff and I don't particularly like it, because I don't like the whole idea of having everything on a, like, there's some good things and there is that good thing that you can disclose, and so then, you know, get annoyed when they haven't read it and you have to explain to them, can you just read my profile?
Yeah.
But I kind of like that sort of human connection type thing. So in terms of, you know, meeting people, picking up, all that sort of stuff, I'd much prefer to do that in person. And I suppose the difficulty that I have in terms of going to gay, you know, queer venues is that it's really hard to, if I am interested in like a woman or something like that, like it's just kind of, there's an assumption that I'm invisible in that setting as well, because there's an assumption that I'm a gay guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there's also that kind of, do you really want to be like seeing, kind of picking up a woman in a gay place, and is there going to be kind of that like
some kind of etiquette there that it feels a bit awkward. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about assumptions in a future episode, but we were talking before about if you're with a lover who looks like a different gender to what you're presenting, is it a faux pas in a queer space to, you know, make out with them?
Yeah, and is it? Like, I've never quite worked that out, if it's okay or if it's not. And I think that, you know, my experience has been of getting some weird looks, and it's kind of like that kind of weird thing of you expect to be kind of completely accepted and comfortable in queer spaces, and then all of a sudden you're kind of the odd ones out for being... Anyway, it's that kind of odd thing, I think.
And also often they're like supposed to be GLBT spaces, so they're not necessarily, you know, like... It should be potentially like the understanding that there might be like straight trans people, you know, in this space, and it should be their space, but like that's, you know, usually not the case, and
that's
like
a really complicated thing. Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Is that it is like GLBT or GLBTTIQQ or however you want to label it, but yeah, that could be a space for people who look, you know, cisgendered male or cisgendered female when they're actually trans, and how do we negotiate that? Let's go to the phones. We don't have phones. Nate, your thoughts?
I don't know if there's an actual way to negotiate it, and I think it comes back to that whole thing that within queer communities there seems to be a focus on the gay and the lesbian, whereas the rest of the alphabet soup sometimes drops off.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to be on a one-man mission, especially in the comedy industry, to kind of bring back the strange, like not the kind of binaries and not the, you know, male and female, male and male, female and female kind of thing. Yeah. But?
Well, yeah, no, so it's just that, I think it's just, I hate saying it, that whole like time, waiting for things to change. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I think there's also like, I guess, you know, having that awareness of like the ways that the queer community can be really judgmental along, you know, certain ideas, and have that perception that, yeah, for example, like if you see people who appear to be straight, then they shouldn't be there. But without them, like they shouldn't have to out themselves as trans or whatever to, I don't know.
Have a little badge with a photo of their genitals on it or something.
Yeah, I don't know, like there's no way for that to be, like that sort of, I guess, assumption is a problem that you can't correct by like everyone having to be, I don't know, more like have their privacy invaded more. I don't know.
Yeah. Unless you're like someone who looks like a dude making out with someone who looks like a chick while you're just clamped onto someone else who looks like the same gender as you.
I feel like there is that bisexuality thing where you have to like, you're only seen as bisexual if you're literally like with two people of different genders right in that moment, like right now. And
I always have that awkward thing picking up because I have a husband. So if I'm talking to a pretty lady, it's so, and I just shoehorn it in, and it's never organic. So I'll be like, so and because I love my husband, and you know, I'm always talking about him, like, so my husband and I, but also we have an arrangement, and I think you're pretty.
And I feel like there's no way to tell someone you're poly without it seeming like a come on, even if it's not.
Yeah.
So it's a bit awkward.
Yeah, well, I have that on stage as well. So I'll talk about my husband and like my girlfriend or something, and then there's that awkward disclaimer of, oh, but everyone knows about everyone. It's all cool. Can I just get to the dick joke? Which is the title of my autobiography.
But then that goes back to that assumption that all bisexual people might be poly as well.
Exactly. And we will get into that in future episodes. But how do you negotiate that field of if you're kind of, you know, chatting someone up and disclosing that you identify as queer? Like, do you feel like that's needed or? Well, it depends on the situation, I suppose. It depends on the why I'm talking to them. But I think it inevitably comes up in some form. Sometimes it's an okay conversation, sometimes it's not, you know. You've just got to stare at them and say, do you understand now? Or print out your OkCupid profile and be like, hey there, can you read that? And then just gaze at them while they read it. That's not creepy. That's probably fine. Yeah? I feel like there's so many things in picking up, though, that are, like, a bit awkward, and there's no way for it to not be a bit awkward. Like, if you're going to be, like, you know, are you top or bottom? Like, you can flag, but, you know, there's no... Yes, you can. It sounds obvious. Yeah. Often. Unless you're super smooth, it's just going to sound like you're a bit of a awkward sleaze sometimes. Well, let's talk about that more in a future episode. Thank you so much, Leah. Thank you so much, Nate. And I've been Lisa-Skye. You're watching Squeal. Thank you for participating.